Will be a... So, welcome to BITPodium episode 1. So, this is now world premiere for our new netcast. We have now started out BITPodium as an attempt to move the our little community called IT Service Management and move it closer to our business and our focus about delivering or living with IT. And as this might be a really awesome show just with me, we have to go beyond that. And to be able to do that, I have collected a number of wonderful people, and I think that we might start up with the beauty and end with the beast, and then we can see who turns out to be the beast. So from France, we have Madame Simone Moore. Welcome.
Bonsoir, mes amis. Ça va?
Can you tell us a quick intro of your background and who you are, Simone?
A quick intro. Okay. Well, let's see. For those of you that have known me in the past, you will know that I was a crew member of the ITSM Weekly Antipodean podcast for 2 years. I've been on TFT a few times now, and of course, joining you, Daniel, on BITPodium. Very excited to do that. And quite active across the social media channels with ITSM and other business facets. I'm really into looking at strategic and operational business design, development, transformation. I really enjoy that repartee that comes with evolution and revolution to really try and jumpstart people's thinking. I look for a practical balance of really about people connected, knowledge shared, possibilities discovered and potential realized. That's kind of the 4 basic business principles I like to work under. I've been a member of the HDI faculty in regards to from service desk roles through to support center manager certification training, and on their International Certification Standards Committee as well. But that's the IT side. I've also had a very strong career. In fact, I came into IT from things like organizational change development and HR, knowledge management and contact centers and those sorts of things. So there you go. That's, I guess, a brief snapshot. And if you want more, check out the social media channel links. I'm now an Australian living in France, exploring a new language, culture and a way of working that's quite different to what I've been used to. So it's given me a brand new perspective on the world and ITSM.
Great. And then moving 5 or 6 hours west, we have Mr. Sean McLean from the clan McLean, I guess.
Exactly. Hi everyone. It's great to be invited or a part of this. My name is Sean McLean. I would probably dub myself as maybe a learning and training and ITSM evangelist. I've got about 20 years in experience with ITSM tools and technical training and implementation of those tools. Also background in architecture and ITIL. I'm a big fan of certification in knowledge and learning. I was involved in the early CTT or Certified Technical Trainer certification, and a little bit had the opportunity to be involved in the various ITIL certifications and reviewing those. But I'm super interested in training and learning and knowledge and our what I would call our learning culture. So that's my interests.
That's great. I think that was a perfect fit for this podcast as well, because this is really a universal set of topics when it comes to knowledge sharing and teaching. So, and speaking of teacher, we have also also represented the same time zone at least, Mr. Earl Bigley.
Well, thank you, Daniel. How's everybody doing? Glad to be on this podcast, and looking forward to helping others learn and helping others grow. So my experience is I've been in IT functions 20 plus years. I've done everything from desktop support to pulling cable to network managers, doing just all that types of just general IT work. And so discovered service management and got into that, and have been doing that for the last several years. So I do work at higher ed in a university, and see the perspectives of how IT functions across the business. And so that's it's an interesting thing, trying to figure out how do we make life better for the people that use our services on a day-to-day basis. And that's kind of what drives me, is how do we take what we do today and improve it one iteration and then do the same thing tomorrow.
Well, welcome all of you. And we actually have two co-hosts that was unable to join tonight. The first one is Mr. Aale Roos, who is actually situated in Finland, so he's actually an hour ahead of me and Simone. I think Aale is the most senior guy of us. He is, I guess he's the only one with grandkids, so that says all.
You're going to pay for that comment, you know.
Yeah, that's what you need to pay just before bailing out of this first episode. So, but Aale is a wonderful person. He has been also within the IT industry for a long time, starting out with the service desk and that whole kind of bringing the IT terminology into Finland, for instance. He was also awarded the ITSMF Person of the Year in 2012, so he has a long background with IT as well. He also, from his mind, he's very keen on learning, continuous learning in terms of learning both technology and also new ways of working. So he has been very interesting in the world of social media and the impact of service delivery due to social media. And our second last co-host is Dave van Herpen, who is actually living in the Netherlands, I believe, or Belgium. Now I'm a bit worried, I might say wrong. The Benelux. Then we got it covered. And Dave is also I think he's a management consultant, has a strong background and a strong focus right now on lean and agile, which is very much in line what we also see now with industrialization of IT services as well. So I'm really happy to have him aboard in the future recordings as well, to see what we can adapt from his experience and learnings towards the business users or the business people.
Yeah.
And then the last, and I guess then the beast. My name is Daniel Billing. I am also a former host of the ITSM Weekly Nordic, which is actually top of the world edition. I have my background actually in logistics, so I spent my first year working within logistics, and then moved over to supporting people using the logistic tools, and then it was just downhill from there. So entering the less glamorous world of IT, and currently working as a reality architect. So this, in easy words, would say that I do implementations of tools or architects within those tools, but with the prerequisites and the constraints that are within the customer's environment and culture.
Reality architect. I love that.
I want that on my business card so bad.
That is just perfect.
Yeah. So in practice, it's that some people come with their pink process and their pink world and their naive thoughts, and then I just trying to puzzle that together with something that is working in their day-to-day work, and very much in line with the Earl's thought there, with small iterations, because one of my own mottos is that we might not be able to find a solution today, but maybe tomorrow. So let's not waste too much time on just us, even if we are all amazing, and just throw ourselves into this topic. This is the first topic we have, and we.
Well, before you do that,
Yeah.
Daniel, I have a very important question to ask you, and that is to describe what BITPodium is all about. That living with IT.
Yeah. So. I cannot take credit for all of it. I need to send out some kudos to Mark Kawasaki because Mark was the one that threw out a tweet where he was a bit tired about educating IT to be a good service provider or a service delivery organization, and maybe said we should turn our focus towards the business and educate our business people to actually become better IT consumers. And as we have been through a paradigm shift when it comes to technology, and as technology today is so much easier than it was 20 or even 10 years ago, you can actually have the that amount of knowledge and technology within the palm of your hand, or even actually in front of your eyes in terms of Google Glass. So my intention with this whole podcast is to find the people who are maybe then struggling a bit to understand what they get out of IT, and maybe help them to maneuver a bit and not maybe learn how to do IT, but to get an understanding what they can get out of IT, and also maybe what's out there that is not where you don't need necessarily your IT department, and what kind of skills and competence you would require from your IT department.
So almost like underlying skills and competencies that you can leverage across any technology, which would survive whatever new technology is today or which ones are coming tomorrow.
Yes, and I think it's very vital if you look at, for instance, an financial project. I mean, let's take an ERP system or financial system and replace them, and you have those crazy projects and budgets. I mean, this 18 to 24 months project. It's a billions of money involved as well, and do we really need that? Is that 2014 to drive that kind of projects? So that's and sometimes I think that is just driven because there isn't enough interaction between the people who wants to go into the shift and go to the next generation of delivery, and the skills and competence that they think they have or that they think they are asking for.
Well, you know, I think it's interesting, Daniel, from the standpoint that we live in this time now that things are so easily attainable to where back 5-10 years ago, people came to the IT team saying, this is big, this is hard to use, we don't know how to deal with this thing, put it in for us and manage the risk. And now we've moved into this app culture where we're going, hey, I can do the same thing that, you know, for $1.99 that you're spending $10,000, $20,000 on. Why do I need to spend the money? A, B, what's the value in you doing something for me? And so, you know, getting that message out there to help people understand just this is, you know, here's IT and here's how you work with them and here's the things they're looking for. What are you looking for so that they can work better with you?
Well put.
So there's our tagline, living with IT.
And that was also one of the intentions when I was thinking about the first topic we should have. I was thinking about I was actually watching one of the shows from the History Channel called Vikings. So it's about the Swedish Norwegian Vikings and actually going over to the UK and hatching a lot of churches down and stealing all their gold. But
rape, pillaging, plunder, normal Viking history. Yes.
So, but then there is also a lot of footage done on actually how that kind of small community lives, and even if you had money in terms of gold coins, you're still the primary services was just changing goods, and that is one of the things that I found. Is that what we are doing today? Is it all a big market where we go in and trade goods? So, for instance, coming from IT, I deliver a number of services in terms of support. I deliver, say, maybe some connectivity and some nice applications, and people can work with that. But on the other hand, I need HR. I need a travel agency. I need the finance department to understand what kind of budget I have. I mean, are we in a situation where we are still on that 1,000-year-ago level?
Well, I've got a question just on you bring that up. I mean, every time you see documentaries on the Vikings and everything, the way the world sort of, trade started out, etc. But, I mean, it is a little bit of a tagline joke, this rape, pillage and plunder. But I do get the feeling that that's actually how our customers feel sometimes when IT, be it internal or external, but is involved in a project. It's like, well, come on, you're just pillaging our budgets and plundering our resources, and we don't have that much more to give anymore. And we've just taken it so far. So it's a very good question. Have we really progressed? Are we evolving? Or are we actually killing the business?
It's interesting, Simone, to put another spin on it. I'm kind of seeing some things that are opposite, where some of our teams are looking at it and going, oh, that's technology, and we don't know what to do with it, even though it's a simple question that should be answered in our office. We want to push it to you, the technology team, to answer, because we don't want to deal with it any longer.
To me, the interesting thing about exactly what both you were mentioning, Daniel and Simone, in terms of if we're just trading, if it's just a trade if it's a trade environment or a trade economy, and I'm shifting stuff with you, and we want to move to a more collaborative view, and everybody talks about that, right? Everybody wants to be collaborative, and really the human resources information, if they could just collaborate with us a little better, there becomes a line where you go, where do I track the value of that? Because if I know this information and you don't, and I'm sharing it with you, and we're just all big, happy sharing people, and we're not recognizing value for any of these things. We see this internally with departments developing stuff, and you know this, if you work in an organization and somebody develops something, then it's free, right? There's no cost associated because my internal people did it for me. So where does that breakdown of we need to find a happy line or a happy medium between I'm sharing information with you and I want to extend that out of we'll both benefit from it, but I have to recognize something. Where do we set our value point if we go, well, we're not going to worry about change of goods, we'll just share everything. Where's the line?
Yeah, and I don't know if any of you guys have read some of the books from Alexander Bard, where he talks about the future attention economy. And this is something that it's called the Futurica trilogy, which is actually 3 books. If you haven't read them, you should. It's a great piece of work. But he's touching about this, that I mean, if you look at what we are doing now with Facebook buying everything, Google, the Google way, and what do actually Google did, and what are we consuming at Google. So and looking at Google's this right side pane, where it's actually all the commercial stuff, or also the top one. I mean, that is less than 1% of the clicks. And even worse, how often do you go to the second page on a Google search? You don't, because so the attention, maybe still out of habits, we are scrolling through and shifting page. But most of us, we are changing our search criteria instead of web crawling through the different documents.
That gives a really interesting image, doesn't it? Like this web crawling. It's like that you have been caught in this web. There's this spider sitting at the central thing that can feel all these vibrations coming from the different directions as you're trying to make your way through it. Yet you get entangled in the detail of what you see when you first go searching. I agree, Daniel. I've definitely changed. Rather than go to the second page, which I do occasionally, depends on the topic, it depends on the depth of what I'm looking for, but more often than not now, I've learnt to be more accurate in what I'm asking in the search bar. And I think that's something we want to teach our clients, our businesses, and the people that call the service desk.
Well, it's an interesting perspective, Simone, that, again, we're the people who go out and search. I've got a 16-year-old that he doesn't Google anything. He comes to me and goes, hey, what would you do? And, of course, he knows I'm going to type it in and pull it up real quick. So, I think this is...
You're Daddy Google. That's what it's about. You're just Daddy Google. He's going to ask you.
Yeah, but I think it represents, though, the younger generation is looking at this completely in a different way. That collaboration is a different thing for them than it is for us, and that we have to start factoring that into as the baby boomer generation is moving out of the workforce, and the Gen Y and Gen whatever they're called now are moving in. That that we're going to have to rethink how we do these things, and that search is maybe something that's going to die and be replaced with some sort of other knowledge system.
Yeah.
Well, and I loved Daniel's comment about an attention economy. Well, I don't know if you referred to it as an attention economy, but I'm almost seeing a place in the future where I go, hey, you should be paying me just to give you my attention and my information. And I know our friend Mr. Dancy comments on that. There's both sides of that coin, right? And so it's interesting because I think there's that I probably would pay people for initial attention. Those first couple views that get the couple people on board that turn it into a wave. But then and this really, when we look at it, a lot of IT works this way, right? We can pick the early model of Microsoft. We'll push it out there because the more people that use it, at first maybe we'll give it for free. And now now maybe we're turning that even farther. At first maybe we'll pay you to use it. But once you get on board and use it and I have your attention and it's become a wave where now hundreds of thousands, now you got to start to pay me for it. So it's kind of an interesting back and forth economy.
So, Sean, do you think going forward we'll see things that actually will start bidding for our attention, and from both a monetary and a whatever, I can't think of the word, but just from I want your attention more than this, and I'm going to compensate you in some way.
I absolutely do. And if you look, we're already there with gamification. If you look at things look at some of the things that are out there. And the names are escaping me at the minute, but people go to check into their locations. We're bidding for their attention, and we're trying to get those people's attention enough. But wow, what a place will this be when we're bidding for your attention for things like knowledge or learning or things that you should have. When I have to get your attention and I have to pay for your attention to do your job or to do your learning, that's going to be a scary place. I don't know, though. Do you think we'll get that far into it? I mean, we're already doing it a little bit with things like frequent flyer programs and incentive programs. We're bidding for attention. How far do you think that'll go?
Yeah, but isn't that what we are doing, for instance, on those kind of discount services as well?
Yeah.
I have another, from a technology-wise, I have another case, actually. It's a Swedish coffee shop chain where they were discussing about putting out beacons, Wi-Fi beacons, that actually sends message to people that pass. So if you just have an app, which means that it sends a message to you when you pass and say that, okay, if you're coming now, because we don't have any queue, you will get your latte for 50% off.
Yes, wow. I've heard of that. It was on the Wall Street Journal as well.
I tell you what, for a coffee nut like me, I'd go for that.
So Simone, you would be trolling the empty streets. You'd be looking for the places that looked a little less crowded to see if you could get a little bit of a discount.
Well, you know, think about where I'm living, guys. I'm living in France. It's got the best cafe society in the world. Well, close. Okay, Italians might argue with that too. But you know, it's. I never have to wait for a coffee. There's so many choice in terms of physicality. So there's another interesting thought pattern, because if I go to a town and I've got so many cafes available to me, that this whole idea of them sort of giving them the little beacon through your phone or a message saying, hey, we know that you're right there, how about, you know, come join us for, you know, 50% off your coffee or glass of wine or whatever the case might be. These are marketing dollars. See, this is real business. This is what, I mean, this is real business marketing. This isn't IT. This is business using IT to do what they have always done, which is to capture our attention in a different way.
Yeah, and you know what, Simone, I'm thinking it really ties into the very first thing that Daniel talked about living with IT and empowering people through IT. If there's a central theme to this, if we're moving to an attention economy, then this doesn't mean that you have to be an IT, pardon me, but you don't have to be a propeller head to benefit from it. You know,
no,
we're moving
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, so, you know, we've been talking about BYOD for years. You know, I think there's the point in time where we're going to start being BYOIT, that, you know, people are going to have their own set of technologies that they can just bring and set down and use as they need them.
They're already doing it, Earl. They
absolutely are. But again, I think it's going to... I think it's going to be packaged in a way that it's easily just transportable no matter what, and it just makes it easy to utilize it.
Look, I don't know who these app developers are, like for, you know, for the iApps, for example, and of course the Android apps, which need to be the same but just transportable on the different platforms so that it goes across whatever platform you happen to hold. But, you know, these are smart people, because they're not IT. They want... I've noticed in some of the surveys, the guys that are creating these apps for business or just for the everyday Joe out there walking the streets, that they just love doing it. They want to make it fun, so there's your gamification, because, you know, fun. It's got to be easy to use, something that you can just plug in or download, whether it costs you $1.99 or it's a free app or $5.99. I've noticed some of those iTunes apps prices creeping up just a little on certain things as they get competing apps come in. These are ordinary everyday people. They are not necessarily IT trained or I've done my certification in this software or that operating system or being able to put this hardware together. These are ordinary people creating these apps.
So it almost seems like the central theme that we run into is as a non-IT person, you got to recognize your power, and as the IT people, we've got to recognize our market, and maybe to talk to our market with that idea of that economy of, look, at first, if we want to gain that market's attention, we have to recognize their attention is worth our money until, and so that becomes that gray line of, where do I start doing, like you said, with the apps, and start going, okay, I've paid enough for your attention, enough people are on board, maybe it's time to ask for a little give back. And that actually almost seems to stop that pillage and plunder ideology that you were talking about in the beginning. If people recognize that we're giving out first and getting people on board, but the practical reality of that is for us to make that investment, at some point we're going to need a little bit back, and we're going to start expecting that. But that's where I think that the magic space will happen, is in that gray line between, you know, too far or too soon I demand income back, then I'm a pillage and plunderer, and not far enough, and I'm not giving people what they need. So.
But Sean, I'm going to challenge that a little bit, because I think we're seeing it now to where there are those points of saying, hey, we've got this really great idea that we think is going to be huge. Will you put up $69 to help get us started? And, and 100 people do it. And then all of a sudden we'll give you the first run of the product. So, and I've got 2 of those things sitting there in June and July. They're supposed to be coming to me that, because I went, hey, woo, that looks cool. I've got to have that. And they got my attention. It's something I want. And so I think this is the other part of the attention economy is how much stuff's going to come at us, and how much bandwidth are we going to have internally to deal with all those things, or are we going to have a set of bots that start filtering that stuff out for us?
I think a really good example is some of the case studies. Well, Amber Case. Love that woman. I think she's absolutely brilliant. And with her geolocacy. Now, I first saw her at a conference. It was Australia, actually. It was LEADIT conference. And that was when I first really heard about geolocacy as such. But she went through that experience of, look, we've got this product or this app that we're trying to develop. We think it's a really cool idea. And it's interesting the case that they went through in terms of getting that investment. And I saw a YouTube where she'd won an award of, I think it was the top 40 under 40 kind of thing of what they've created and what they've done and how they've succeeded. And she was very much talking about starting small. So a bit like you, Sean, you're talking about, well, let's give a little bit. Let's start small. Let's not try and go for this huge end goal yet where the successes will make you more successful, if that makes sense.
Right.
The small successes will make you more successful.
There's a fantastic book on this. It's called Little Bets, and I can't for the life of me remember the author. But it was kind of talking about exactly that the more dynamic companies in today's world, as compared to the, if we look at the quote-unquote yesterday's economy, we're looking at people who could make a big swing and win big. But now people are making more progress with little bets. Although, and Aale, you've got a great point with, the Kickstarter type campaigns in the same way. I look at them. But man, the idea that you had, that my bots will go out and find them for me and only bring, it only brings to the point that my attention is worth something. Even so much that I'm going to have to eventually get apps that will help me only get the things that are most important to me. That's just creepy. At least to me, it's a little bit scary.
Yeah, so Sean, that is Little Bets, How to Break Through Ideas, Emerge from Small Discoveries by Peter Sims.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, love that. So.
And then back to our collaboration question. So if we now have this where we see that we need to, we are still so silo-based because we are HR, we are IT, we are finance, we are all these different silos in terms of a business strategy point of view or business organization point of view. But if you go in and look on what we are supposed to deliver, is it then just a blacksmith and a horseman building some kind of transport, or if we go to like the marketing department, isn't it so? Building a website, isn't it marketing and IT working together? But do we still struggle with that kind of joint vision on what we want to deliver?
Yeah, it's one of my bugbears. Usually has been my experience with some organisations where, especially the larger ones, where the marketing or sales and marketing department, however they're constructed, they own that external. I mean, yes, they own the content. They are responsible for that. They have policies around their content, etc. But yet they're using IT capability and skill sets in order to make that happen. Notice I didn't just say technology, capability and skill sets to do it. And whether they have those themselves, which I believe some of them do, and in fact a lot of them do, most of them do these days, but IT and marketing don't work together very well yet. They still don't. I still see a great separation between those two areas. And it's really sad because they're both such creative mindsets and they've both got such incredible skill sets that could make this business, the reputation and the branding and the connection and interaction this business has with its customers could make it just ginormous if they did work together.
Yeah, it's an interesting line though, because you want to know that there's some differentiation between skill sets. I'd like to believe that some of the things I know in IT make me a little bit special, so that a marketing person couldn't do everything I do, and vice versa. But at the same time, you blur that line. I need their input. But if I blur that line too much, there's that feeling that the people in every other department from us will go, well, geez, I could have done that. You know?
I guess blurring those lines creates a HR nightmare a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, but don't we see these things roll through cycles? I mean, we went through the period of the Renaissance man in history that here's the man for all seasons could do all things. Then it got back into specialization. Now is it rolling back towards it's okay to be the person who can figure out all the pieces and parts?
Yeah, that's possibly true. There was a great blog, and I wish I could remember half of these resources that I've read, but was just talking about. It was a fantastic new thought that the guy said, I don't want to hire the smartest person in the room. And I almost fell out of my chair. But basically what he was saying is the smartest person in the room is not only the most expensive, but the most focused on one thing. And I need, like you were saying, Earl, I need breadth, not depth. I need that guy who is willing to do the Google search. I need that person who's willing to spread out. And I'd take them any day over the smartest person in the room. And it completely, you want to talk about paradigm shift, it completely made me go, oh, wait a minute. So I think we maybe are moving towards that we're going back towards that idea of a renaissance of the more different things you can do kind of well.
Yeah.
So.
But I don't want to debase either that there's still the need for the specializations, otherwise we wouldn't have brilliant surgeons.
Yeah, there's that. I don't know that I want
absolutely.
to.
Absolutely, great point.
But
I think it comes back to, again, just how do we within ITSM and the business in that conference boardroom talk about the capability that's needed for what that particular business wants to do. And that's then when we come up with that recipe, I guess, of that combination of capability that we're really looking for.
So that is a really key point when it comes to, as you say, we always, and Sean, you know this by your history with certification. We certify something and it becomes a piece of paper, and it's a bit of static. And that skill can just be out of date in 5 years.
Mm.
Right.
True.
So it's like sour milk. This doesn't have any additional value. It's just annoying.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sean.
And you would relate. You said you have a 16-year-old, and we have 2 young daughters. I've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I think about, in context of what Daniel's saying, I want them to learn. Education, as we know it, has a stopping point. Everything's stopped. You go to high school and you're done. You get your degree, you get your certificate, and it's done. It's very static. I'm petrified for my children. I want them to grow up to learn that learning is like a continual process, and developing yourself is one. In the workspace, we're the same way. We assume we achieve our end goal, and then we're finished.
The best story. Sorry, go on.
I just hope that we can make sure that the people learn how to continue moving on.
Yeah. The best story I had, I think it was day 2 of NITL Foundations I was conducting, and this guy walked in and he just had this huge smile on his face when I said, okay guys, let's go over the review homework stuff that you had to do last night. And the first thing he said, he was sat down just after dinner, his 6-year-old son opposite him at the dinner table, he on the other side. His son had his, maths and science or, workbook open to do his homework. Whatever a 6-year-old does these days, I know it's far better than what I used to do. And he sat opposite and opened up this, this massive ITIL Foundations manual and started doing his homework and exam. And apparently his son looked at him with this shock, awe and shock it was. But but Dad, what are you doing? And he said,
Oh.
I'm doing my homework. And this look of absolute devastation comes over his 6-year-old's face and said, but I didn't think you had to do homework again when you got older.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's just,
So
Yeah.
you're right,
Every-
Sean. It just doesn't stop. We continue to evolve.
Well, and there is a paradigm shift for you, is to get everyone who's, whether it doesn't matter whether IT, I think, is common with that, because IT evolves so quickly. It's just natural for us to know that we have to stay on top. But doesn't matter what department or what group you're in. Earl, how about you? You said you've got a 16-year-old, and that's a really interesting, because now we're talking ending high school, moving to college. How does he view it?
No shotguns allowed.
It's an interesting thing in talking with him, because he's already talking about, he's be a sophomore next year in high school, and he's already talking about earning a master's. When I was 16 I was just like, I just want to get through college,
Right.
and be done with it. So he's already looking at the market spaces and going, oh, to do what I want to do, I've got to have a master's degree. I may need a doctorate. And in the same point in time, I'm sitting there looking at going, yeah, and you could start your own company where you don't have anything and just, be a billionaire. How's that? And he goes, well, that's a great idea. Where's the plan? And I'm going, if I had that, I wouldn't be here standing here talking to you, probably. But it's an interesting thing, because you go back to what you say is that constant learning that needs to go on, because we're going through the discussion right now about how do we migrate things to a cloud environment and do some work that we need to do to save cost and do some other things. And we've got that group of people who are going, but you're taking away the thing I know and love, and I can't do what I've got to do now. Now what am I going to do? Panic, panic, panic. And so you're sitting there looking at it and going, okay, who's at fault here for not keeping the skill sets up? Is it the person, or is it the company who's not saying, hey, this, we're thinking about going here. Are you ready to make the move?
Yeah.
One thing we would like to have on this podcast is that we would like to have end it with the proverb of the episode, so to say. And I think this the proverb of episode 1 suits quite good into your last comments here, Earl, where it says, this is a Turkish proverb, and I'm not so sure it's only Turkish. It seems like it's quite universal, but no road is long if you have a good company. And I think that's something we have to bring along, that if you have all these, as you said, these people that can bring their own flavor to what you are trying to achieve, it will not be only easier, it will also be much more fun.
That's great. I like that. So it's your community.
So I think this will probably end our first episode. If you want to dive into our show notes, you just go into the BITPodium.com, BITPodium.com. If you have any wishes or requests, or just want to give us praise, there is actually a menu on the homepage there as well. You can write a message and just tell us how gorgeous we are. And the next podcast is scheduled for the 25th of June, and I think there will be a super Antipodean flavor to that show. So stay tuned for that one. So it was really, really great, and I really appreciate your time, lady and gentlemen. It was we said in the beginning we would try to keep this to 30 minutes. I think we will never manage to have any episode to 30 minutes. But still, it's a goal.
Great.
Well, merci beaucoup, messieurs. Bonsoir.
Ciao.
Yes, and thank you, everybody, for making me part of this. This was great.
Yeah, and have a nice day, evening, wherever you are.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Take care.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.